So where are we? We are in my home studio in Dublin, Ireland, in Howth, which is just outside the city. And well, I should start with the name first, actually, shouldn't I? All right, hold on. All right. My name is Gavin Lynch. I make music under the name Matador. I run a label called Ruckus. I'm in my home studio in Dublin, Ireland. A typical year, I would take at least 10 months of that year touring, but I guess this year has been different, right? Going into it, was it going to be a typical year of 80 to 100 shows, and yeah, it was hard to watch, you know, your year ahead, you know, literally just go up and smoke. It's been a really productive year. Yeah, I've an album pretty much finished. I needed some time in the studio. I don't know if I needed this long, but I got it and just stayed in the studio. That was pretty much it. Most of my career, I've pretty much operated out of home studios in various apartments, building my own studio gradually over the last 10 years, different pieces of equipment, and it sort of gradually got bigger and bigger. At the start, it was myself and Russell at college. We were all into Reason, Cubase, and that's where we learned on Subtractor and Maelstrom and all these different soft synths. And then I remember getting introduced to some hardware synths. I was given a lend of an SH-101, and once I had a couple of pieces, a Microkorg, the 101, a Korg MS-20, the old Japanese one, and these were just game changers for me. That was just the point where I didn't have to work as hard on the sound. You know, you're asking one device to do one job, you know, make that sound, as opposed to a computer that's multitasking and doing all these different things. You know, you can get so much out of a soft synth. Realistically, it's going to come close in a lot of cases, but anybody that's listened to Boat, you know, will know. I was 5, 6, maybe 6 years ago where I wanted to go back to, you know, being able to spit a mix out on board on front of me. And I just didn't want MIDI, you know, MIDI faders or something like this. You know, I wanted it to feel, I wanted it to be alive, so to speak, you know. And one of my friends had one of the centerpieces, and then I heard some of the Portico stuff as well. I just found with the Summon when I was AB, and, you know, we often talk about just the width, but I think there's just so much more depth in everything by working different reverbs and just working different spatial effects or positioning. All my computer mixes, all my in-the-box mixes, they were narrower, and yeah, there wasn't the low end there. You know, the low end was, yeah, it was forced, if that makes sense. It felt forced. The mixes that I were mixing down here for my album, I felt were better than the masters that I had out of the box. I just really liked the sound of the transformers, the circuitry, everything was just where I wanted it, you know. It's all glued together in a much prettier way. And ultimately the simplicity of the desk, just this pure analog, you know, straight through. Like, I don't have automation on this desk because the layout that I have on this is I've channel 1 to 8 are mono and 9 to 16 are stereo, so I have 24 inputs on the board. And then I added the Penthouse, you know, with the 51s and 52s, and you know, that just gives the whole signal flow, every channel, this new, even greater lease of life. I think having a piece of one of our industry masters actually signed by himself on his birthday. I think he signed my console on his 91st, maybe 92nd birthday, because he just happened to be down in the factory that day a couple of days before it was shipped. We all know what he's done for the recording industry and for music. You know, his equipment, his technology, his brain. They've all been game changers. You know, we all know this. And the brand, his name, is something that we all trust. You know, and believe that you're operating that at a high level, if not the best. And you're trusting that your music will come out better. I get all the punch I need. I get all the headroom I need, and I get all the width that I need from this this desk, and then some. Yeah, a game changer as soon as I put my first mix through it, you know. It just pushed all the faders up, and yeah, it was night and day. The clarity, the space, the depth, everything was there that I was working so hard to achieve in the box, you know, because it feels better. It's nicer to work, you know, in that environment when the machine's alive with you, you know. And I think the journey's a lot more fun.